Hey friends, it's me Toho, and welcome back to another Legion Tower Defense 2 video. In this video, I show you how I became the best tier 1 player in all of Legion, Peewee edition. If you haven't seen the first video in my series, go check it out. I get the top game with Buzz and explain how top games work. If you don't want to go watch it, I'll quickly explain it here. If you don't care or already know, please skip ahead to the time that I've put up here or look at the chapters. The top games are based off of the unit that you open with. It goes off how much gold is spent. So if I put down 7 looters, which is 70 gold, and 1 Nikomata, which is 60 gold, the game will count it as a looter game. Next is getting a higher power score by wave 10 than the person currently with the top game. This does fluctuate a bit depending on the player's rank. If I, a 2500 player, have a lower power score by 10 than the gold player that holds the current record, I can still get the top game. And finally, you have to win the game on top of the power score. Accomplish all this, and you make it a top game yourself. Okay, so last video we went versus purple ranked players. While not unskilled, it was a higher chance of victory. Today's game is with the rank 27 and rank 199 player, so it's going to be a bit more of a challenge. For this game, I went with the same strategy as last time. Grab a friend so I don't int a random person on the ladder, and go Fiesta. I still hadn't tested any of the openers, which honestly was not the greatest idea, so I had to go with what I felt. So my match history is full of Fiestas, as this challenge has taken multiple attempts, so I did expect them to snail me, so I went to go for a little bit of an overbuild. Unfortunately, that overbuild was clearly fake value, and I ended up leaking 80% and not even killing the snail. Whoops. Oh, and it was only a 4-worker opener. I quickly checked their builds, which everyone should do at least once a wave. Remember friends, do as I say, not as I do. But I noticed the guy sending into me was a green devil, which is generally a 5-worker opener. The wave was pretty long, and I knew he would get the snail off on me on income. Wave 1, I leaked so much because I severely lacked damage, so I added a Peewee and boosted one of the ones that I already had. Boosting is not always the greatest idea, as it's a permanent 5 gold loss, but I had faith this would be a good Fiesta. Well, if I hadn't boosted, I would have maybe leaked way too much again, so I think the trade-off was worth it. Actually, let's test that. Okay, 63% without boost, and I don't want to do math, so let's just assume that I made the right call. Plus, I was 6 workers, so I'll take it. I set my Dragon Turtle to test the Pota player, as I didn't want to starve too long, and sometimes they agreed and it works. But unfortunately, I did not have enough money to build the Infiltrator, so I had to add another Peewee and a Howler to be stronger on waves 4 to 6, and went with Old Reliable, boosting one of my Peewees. Unfortunately, they skipped, and because of the boost, I full held. Another 5 gold down the drain. Wave 4 is here, and I'm expecting a pretty big send. Wave 2 was long because of the leak, and wave 3 was long because Peewees do no damage. After checking my opponent's build, I knew there were maybe even 7 workers. My best option was to add an Infiltrator and boost. Though now I'm down 14 gold from boosting alone, so I really hope it's worth it. Yeah, so I got sent imps on wave 4, and I don't know if this is after income or not, but damn is this gonna hurt. It was around this point that my hope for a top game was shattered.
Oh, I don't know how to get you above me on power score.
Yeah, it's probably not happening this game. You can just go for the win. Wave 5 was here, and we took a little bit of king damage. I knew he had a lot of workers, so I was expecting a resend. I added the Infiltrator, so if I did get a resend, I could push a bit for 6. After putting down the second Infiltrator, I went for a reroll to try to get some actual early game damage without having to spend any money to boost it. In hindsight, I probably should have done this a bit earlier. It's okay though. I found a Ranger, which is exactly what I wanted, and swapped out my White Mane for a Grarl. I like the Ocean Templar and King Claw combo a bit more than White Mane, so it's what I went with. I got full King Ups, which was weird, but hey, it takes away some gold from the guy sending into me, so I was cool with it. I easily held wave 5 and pushed to 10 workers. Wave 6, I just fixed my split, and with the double Infiltrator, I was feeling pretty confident. I actually got another King Up only send, but since it was only 40, I didn't really trust it. But because of the no send, I actually got my first Pro Fiesta. Look at that beautiful 17% leak. Wave 7 is here, and since that wave 6 lasted quite a long time, and that 40 send of King Ups was definitely not real, I went for a full Daphne. If I held or Pro leaked this, I was set to push a lot of workers. I just got a Dino, and because my Daphne did not split tank at all, I ended up leaking again, which is good because it was a beautiful 24% Pro Fiesta. By the way, I'm not going over what I'm sending or why, because I am fully just throwing my ally under the bus, trying to get as much income as I can for that top power score. Wave 8 is here, and I already had so many Peewees and a Daphne, so I pushed to 13 workies. Though, since 7 was a long wave, and we've been incoming all game, our opponents had a lot of workers and went for a 140 full reset. Unfortunately for them, both my ally and I were too strong and we easily held it. Wave 9 is here, and because of the extra gold I got from the send, I pushed to 16 workers. I could have gone for more, but I really am not great here, so I went with the Orchid. It's good damage here, and wave 11, and it's pretty good tank value for wave 10. They starved us here, and I imagine it was because Cred was in the game, and we both easily held, and it was time for wave 10. I already had my Orchid and a Daphne, and some doggos, so after adding my Halo, I felt very confident for the wave, even if they did send. I even shifted a bit so I could afford that big Halo, and maybe a big ballin' Cred on top. They actually sent us, and after semi-pro Fiesta and my allies full hold and cover, I knew I was able to go Cred. I pushed 2 workers and instantly took it. I had just enough money to add the gate and full Cred, so that's what I did. They sent us Income King again, and I instantly queued up those workers. I killed my Daphne right away, but it ended up being fine as I got another pro Fiesta. We skipped sending here and wave 10, as the guy I'm sending into is starting to get way too far ahead. Now we have the Mythium pressure advantage, and because we still haven't sent, I wasn't worried about a massive resend, as they probably don't have that many workers. Knowing this, and that I had a Halo, gold from Cred, and a Soul Gate for 13, I pushed an insane amount of workers. Wave 12 is here, and all I did was upgrade my Howler. Unfortunately, they did real send here. Looking back at it, it was probably way too greedy of me to do what I did, as the wave 11 was pretty long and my ally had placed an egg. We both had a sizable leak and ended up taking a lot of king damage. Whoops. Wave 13 is here, and we decided to send. Neither looked all that strong on this wave, and we didn't want to starve for too long. I decided to greed another Cred, and I only added a Grarl and an Infiltrator, as I really didn't think they were coming for a reset. Plus, I didn't want to overcommit for wave 13 because I look really weak on wave 14. I sent a double 4 eyes because I was hoping one would get right on his Azaria, which was most of his damage for the wave. That, and he already has a King Claw, so he might go for another one. I could have gone like a Kraken, but I expected them to put an upper split, meaning the Poda would kill a lot of the wave before it even got hit. That, and with the masks, it may have been a DPS Kraken, not tanking at all. He had prepped a lot of masks, expecting the 14 send, and it actually almost worked. We ended up leaking them a bit and getting a shutdown off of yellow. Unfortunately, since they had full king, and a lot of the units were low HP, we didn't get that much king damage. But it's fine, because of Cred, I have 34 workers and am overbuilt. All I have to do is hold the next send, and it's looking great. Though I will say that 800 power score advantage was starting to get me nervous that even if we did win this game, I would not get the top power score, and therefore not the top game. On wave 14, I went for the Ocean Templar and started building my gate circle. They didn't send, and I actually got away with it. We've probably all seen somebody overbuilt with gates and just be seemingly unleakable, and that's what I was going for. For wave 15, I called for a skip even though we've been starved for the past 2 waves. We were losing this game, so I felt like we had to make something happen. I was so overbuilt, and the guy sitting into me was so low on the power score, I was confident in this call. We got sent, as predicted, and the guy sitting into me couldn't send very much. I ended up full holding and covering a bit of my ally's small lead. Our king had regened up a lot since wave 12, so we didn't really take very much damage. It's wave 16, and I only pushed 2 workers off of that 15 send, because gates are not that great on 16, and I figured they might try for a reset. And even though gates aren't great here, I added more because, why not? I barely pushed and am overbuilt enough that it really shouldn't matter. They did end up going for the resend, and unfortunately for them, both my ally and I fully held. We both pushed a lot of workers because we knew there was realistically only one wave we can send them, wave 18. Yellow has so much value into masks, and I had forgotten which wave they were on fire, and blue had Sky Queen and Boars. This pretty much eliminates sending on 17 or 19, so we knew we were left with wave 18. Wave 17 is here, and I just added another gate to help prep for the 18. Our enemies had put themselves in a tough situation. They can't send 17 because of the 16 resend, and they can't skip to 19 because we've been starving since wave 13. Their best option is to match us with an income send or a real send on 18 to try and leak us. And it turns out that Teal was nervous here and ended up upgrading 2 Boars into Red Eyes. This is great for our 18 send. Wave 18 is here, and it's finally time for our send. Yellow added a second Azaria for wave 15, and might have gone for a third, or just some King Claws or your zeros for tanks. Either way, unlike wave 13, I can afford 2 Krakens, which means even if he does split one, there's a good chance those Azarias will be stuck on the other. The Needler is for the possible Yazira spam, and the Shaman was because the wave, is pretty strong. I also sent a Mole, and might have trolled a bit here, but 3 Hermits. His entire board, besides the Azaria, was AoE, and I knew at least one would get sniped. There was probably something better to send instead of those, but it actually worked out. My first one got sniped very quickly, and the masks were looking at taking out the other 2. It's okay though, they had already done their job by the time they died, and we ended up leaking them quite heavily. They did try to real send us, which I think was a mistake, as we both full health. We ended up getting a lot of king damage and we're very close to winning the game. But there's still a huge issue. Even if we win, I'm not on top of the power score, so we hatch a scheme. I would Stewie push for wave 20, which is actually a smart play as the guy I'm sitting into is way in the lead and masks aren't the greatest versus 20. Nobody sent him wave 19 and it's looking like a wave 20 race. I ended up with 143 workers and caught up a bit on the power score, but it wasn't quite enough. Workers are so slow to build, so pushing any more wouldn't actually be worth it, as the extra mythium I would gain would be so minimal, so I decided to build with the rest of my gold. So long as I didn't full leak, my ally would hopefully be able to cover enough so that we do not die. It was a little bit greedy, but I had to hope that everybody was just holding here, as it was the only way I could end up on top of the power score. I was super undervalued, so of course I leaked, but this was the perfect situation. The guy I'm sitting into held, and the guy that my teammate was sitting into held enough so that they would never die. And my ally also held really well, and there's no chance that we ever would die here. Could this be it? Could I be on top of the power score? No, never. My guy held, and I leaked way too much. But I figured we could still win this game, so let's do it. 2 of my hermits didn't send on wave 20, so I was curious if we should do a reset. I've got an insane amount of mythium, and it might work, but my ally called for a save. I added more halos and put them in the split because I wanted them to be focusing different targets to really maximize their ramping single target damage. I also added 1 more King Claw, and it was time to see if they sent. Well, they did go for a resend, and I had to hope that I didn't leak too much. My ally was probably always going to cover, but if I wanted top power score, I knew I needed to hold 2. It started to look a little dicey, but my gates had already spawned so many spawns, and the 2 halos on the right were still alive, putting out some really good damage. And oh my goodness, I actually held. And I had to hope that this was enough. Teal was leaking to a no send, and I knew the next wave would be the last. And then it happened. I was on top of the power score. I don't know if this actually helped or not, but I saved my mythium until after the wave was over, because income doesn't matter anymore, and mythium held plays a part in determining your power score. After freaking out a bit with my friend, I had to build to make sure we didn't die, and I'll just leave you guys with our actual in-game chat for this last wave.
Yeah, they're both.
Oh my god, dude. This is the most stressful. This has to have been the most stressful one in the entire time. Are you holding, by the way?
I'm 1600.
Yeah,
over,
okay.
And I have like full arc tears. I really should.
Oh my god, dude. The Sui! Ostrich, you're the best teammate in the world! Oh my god. And I might even hold this! They finally sent me Frogos. I don't think I got any Frogos last send. Well, we've done it. With some excellent enabling from my teammate and their send on 21, I actually ended up on top of the power score. This was definitely one of the most stressful ones in the entire series. But now it's time to check to make sure, and yep, there I am, rank 48, and officially have the best game with the Peewee opener. This video isn't the best editing I've ever done, and wanted to do a lot more, but I kind of ran out of time and wanted to stick to my Tuesday schedule. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and maybe even learned a thing or two, and I'll be back next Tuesday with another top game with a tier 1.